Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, let me introduce myself for you. I'm Othen Novita from Group 3. My friend are Yelita Azizah and Muhammad Ramadan Armanda. We are from Faculty of Teacher Training, State Islamic Institute of Bukit Tinggi. Now I'm going to tell you about our presentation with the title Evaluation of Problem-Based Learning Methods for Teaching Islamic Education Courses to Students of Shiraz University of Medical Sciences. This journal discussion is divided into four parts. First, introduction and literature review, then include abstract, then methodology of research, findings, and discussion include conclusion there. The author of this journal is Mariam Sensei. In this research, the study about increasing of the analytic mood among the student and faculty members of the Department of Islamic Education by the teaching method of problem-based learning. First, about abstract. Emphasis on teaching religion education left equation with our Islamic education courses was in line with the demand and desires of students. The aim of this study is to an increase of the analytic mood among the student and faculty members of the Department of Islamic Education by teaching method of problem-based learning. The present study was performed cross-sectionally on students of Shiraz University of Medical Science in Islamic education courses. One of strength of this method is the student-centered and process-oriented. Next, what is problem-based learning? Problem-based learning is a teaching method in which complex real-world problems are used as the tool to promote student learning. In this method, which is student-centered and learners using the discussion method actively participate in educational activities. The next, why do we use problem-based learning? Problem-based learning can promote the development of critical thinking skill, problem-solving abilities, and communication skill. It can also provide opportunities for working in groups, finding and evaluating research material, and lifelong learning. This learning is a social process for solving real-world problems based on explanation on the literature and previous studying our hypothesis. The next purpose of this research, it is very important to know level of the student satisfaction. And the next, about hypothesis, this journal, based on literature review, problem-based method of teaching is one of the best methods for teaching Islamic education courses in the universities. Okay, next will be presented by Yelita Azizah. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce myself, Yelita Azizah from Group 3. I will continue presentation from my friends about evaluation of problem-based learning method for teaching Islamic education course to students of Shiraz University of Medical Science, Part C and D by Mariam Sensei. Part C, methodology, research methodology. The research method used in this study is cluster sampling, which is the sampling technique used in similar but diverse group. While the subject requirement in this study are 1. student of Shiraz University to be present the class on the day of the research. Taking into account the above criteria, 232 student participants with an average age 20 until 41. Among the participants, 19% were boys and 79 were girls. In the test, there are different methodology for study and evaluation. The educational environment, both qualitatively and quantitatively, among which DRIPS is designed specifically for educational environment experienced by medical and health science students. In the test subclass of all subject to the research tool into part 1. Demographic questionnaire to assess age and gender. 2. DRIPS questionnaire in 40 questions in the life scale 5 part. Strongly agree to strongly disagree. 5 factor is assessment and evaluation the educational process from the student point of view. This dimension includes 1. Student perception of learning. 2. Student perception of teacher. 3. Student academic self-perception. 4. Student perception of atmosphere. And the last, student social self-perception. Depending on the number of questionnaire each dimension, the maximum number of questions that can be concluded in each dimension is different. In the first dimension, 12 questions and a maximum score of 48. In the second dimension, 11 questions with a maximum score of 44. In the third dimension, a question with a maximum score 32. In the fourth dimension, with 12 questions and a maximum score of 48 have been. Finally, the score concluded in each dimension is divided into separate categories according to the score, which is mentioned in the result section. In one study, the alpha coefficient of the questionnaire was equal to 0.75. It has been reported that it indicate the acceptable internal consistency of the questionnaire, and finally its validity have been confirmed by the same research. The raw information and data collection have been analyzed using SPSS Editor 22 software. The last part, the finding. According to the research, based on demographic finding, the most age group participant in the study was the age group of 18 until 22 years, 60%. Also, the study sample was selection from 9 different fields of study. The highest number was related to medicine, 28, and the lowest was related to pharmacy. According to the research design, descriptive methods have been used in terms of perception of learning in the evaluation of study of Shiraz University of Medical Science. 66.83% believe that teaching has led to thinking In terms of scientific self-perception, 100 are confident in terms of perception of atmosphere. 69.68% feel good in general and in social self-perception. 65.85% of students believe that the environment is or is very good. The overall score of the questionnaire was classified into 4 groups: unfavorable or very pure, semi-desirable or problematic, and desirable or more positive, and very desirable or excellent. According to the general score of educational 137.46, the result indicate the desired satisfaction and positive attitude of students toward the use of problem-based learning method in Islamic education course. The research in the 5 dimensions of the questionnaire indicate the students have high scientific faction, which the different dimensions relate to the teaching of Islamic education course with the problem-based learning method to find out whether there is a significant difference between the score of the two groups of girls and boys in the 5 dimensions. The result obtained from the data showed that the mean score in the 2 dimensions of student perception of professor, student perception of educational atmosphere, and the total score of educational atmosphere was significantly higher among men than women. Also, no significant difference was found between the score of men and women in other dimensions. Thanks. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Before we continue the discussion, I will introduce myself first. My name is Muhammad Ramadan Armanda, and I will continue the discussion on the point A and F. Point A, discussion. In the beginning, the teacher taught the advantages of this method through 12 preliminary sessions, followed by complementary workshop. In accordance with the analysis of the article has been carried out, the author of the article present the needs and ways of presenting this applicable and practical method. In this method, no search is presented as a textbook in the master and the beginning and talk presenting and granularity. In addition, he will check hers during the week for consultation that the student will be in contact with the master and work all their problems so that they will present the result of their research to the other student on the day of the conference. In this method of teaching, the student should always be evaluated and some advantage previously be considered for them, as the evaluation is done on a regular basis. Therefore, is required the student attend the classroom the beginning. In this method, asking question is the cornerstone of the teaching. Now, whenever the question is a common one, we put it on the board and we will ask the student either a written or oral response, and when we will write down the response. In this method, the master we only monitor the process of answering and not interfering, and then will complement the question on present the correct idea. If the master wishes to ask the student question, the shall ask the short class. We shall listen carefully to respond, and he shall give the student the opportunity to think and present to write responses. Time or the assessment of time while answering is vital. The deep question shall be answered with the present and time, while those either and more solved ones with less time. At time, the student question are given. The master should be careful. When teaching is finished, as so called by technical question or a fundamental one can be pushed, and the student be asked to think about it and present their response in the written form in the next teaching session. The above activity is both an assessment and can have an emphatic or privilege, enhancing the process of studying, the search and finding all the answer. Towards the end, the author of the article of the term we will ask all the groups to announce their feedback. Finally, in this method, the best shall be that all technicals were there in form and content are to be applied. And the last discussion on point F, conclusion. The result of this study showed that students satisfaction with teaching Islamic education courses in problem-based learning method is positive. Therefore, of new educational methods such as problem-based teaching, as well as the application of educational content to improve student education is appropriate. Maybe this is what I can convey as representative of one of the three groups. Maybe if there are wrong words to the listener, I apologize, and to Allah I ask forgiveness. Thank you.